welcome back. You know who I am now, so I'm not going to introduce myself again. And today I'm going to talk about Cloud Atlas from 2012 for no apparent reason whatsoever, except that I just watched it.
This is the Cloud Atlas Sextet?
I doubt there's more than a handful of copies in all of North America.
But I know it. I know it.
It's from the Wachowskis, who are the directors of The Matrix, which does not seem like a recommendation given how bad a lot of the recent output, like Jupiter Ascending or actually the Matrix sequels, were. But it's also an anthology film, which is a genre that a lot of people in the current day and age dislike. Personally, I enjoy some anthology films. Anyway, this is, despite monumentous odds that were monumentously racked up against it, a fairly good movie. It's a very different movie from what you might expect. So it's difficult to classify into one genre. It's 6 different stories, each taking place in a different time period. So we go from the 1850s to the 1930s to 1970s to the present day to a postmodern future and then to a post-apocalyptic future. So each story is almost in a different genre. It's like the first one is a social critique of slavery. The second one, I'm not going to try to classify that into a genre. It loses a bit in the film. Actually, the film based on a book, by the way. The third one is a mystery slash thriller. The fourth one's comedy. And the other two are both sci-fi, but like one is dystopian sci-fi. One is a different kind of sci-fi. It's like the first one is like Blade Runner kind of sci-fi, and the second one is sci-fi in the vein of Waterworlds, or one of those the planet is destroyed, we have to leave kind of sci-fis. Because of it being 6 different stories in one film, which is, by the way, almost 3 hours, it's kind of difficult to discuss the individual plot lines because there are just so many of them. So I'm not really going to try to do that. I'm just going to say which ones I think were better than others. Of course, it's not like other Ancelotti films where every single skit is directed by an individual director, and they're also longer. It's not one after another. All 5 are intercut, and like every storyline will reach crucial plot points at the same time, sort of. And there'll be like rapid cutting back and forth between them. Another interesting thing is all the characters in different storylines are all played by the same set of 13 actors. Which they frequently have actors playing members of different genders or different races even, so they do incredible makeup jobs on some of them. The cast includes Tom Hanks and Halle Berry and Jim Broadbent and Hugh Grant. And in the last storyline, Hugh Grant plays a cannibal warlord with this insane amount of ridiculous makeup and outfit. It's just hysterical. It's not meant to be hysterical, but it is. And there's some other really funny outfits. Also, it is a film that, aside from being a kind of weird experiment, the film seems to believe in reincarnation. Although, interestingly enough, it's not the actors who are getting reincarnated, it's one character who's actually played by a different actor in every storyline, as per him having the same comet-shaped tattoo. Also, I should mention earlier, this review contains like a ton of spoilers. So, if you don't want spoilers, don't keep listening. But then again, I always wanted to know more about the plot of the film before I saw it. So, either way. Film has a bunch of central ideas, including universality of love. It's also about the destruction of the environment, sort of, in stages. Like, we go from one story involves a scandal in a nuclear power plant that's actually rigged to blow. And then, of course, later we have the post-apocalyptic Earth, where something called the Fall, we never quite explain what that is, destroyed like most of the planet, and the surviving humans have to leave Earth and go to space, which they do, by the way. The end scene takes place on another planet, and an old guy shows his granddaughter where Earth is from their point of view. A few of the downsides of the film include the fact that since there are 6 storylines, some of the character development is not that great. I mean, we do care, but it still feels like still feels like each story could be a bit more fleshed out. And if I were making the film, I would maybe have dropped like maybe 1 or 2 of the storylines and focused more heavily on 4 of them. That's just my personal pick. I mean, what they did with the material in their time is really great. I still feel like maybe one storyline less would have made it a better film. The acting is great, even the involuntarily silly acting. It's almost rewarding to see that. One thing, it's a film you should watch with subtitles because a lot of the accents are really weird, and the post-apocalyptic future people even speak in a made-up language based off English. So, I mean, they basically sound like YouTube comments. So you want subtitles for that part, otherwise you have no idea what these characters are saying. Also, incredible makeup and production design, and the visuals are very reminiscent of Christopher Nolan's Inception, I think, the visuals and the cinematography, which was beautiful in both films. Thankfully, the soundtrack is not reminiscent of Inception. I think I would rate it 8 out of 10 stars, probably, for just so much done well, even if there's flaws. Another thing, if you've seen the trailer, which like me will turn you on to the film, is that the trailer's a bit misleading. The trailer makes it seem like it's a really intense film. It has intense sequences, but it takes its time to be mellow occasionally. And also the trailer has like a lot of the fight scenes during the trailer. It's not a very action intensive movie. There's one chase through a futuristic Seoul. There's a shootout in a factory, and for action sequences, and a fight with the cannibals in the future. But that's basically it. It's not an action movie. It's one of the sci-fi movies that we sort of don't have anymore. The deep thinking kind, like I haven't seen in ages. And it's in many ways just a really good film. So I think that's it for today. So bye.